I want to show how we can derive the cosine angle addition theorem. So let's get started. So the first thing that we need to do is recognize what are we actually deriving. Well, cosine of x plus y is equal to cosine of x times cosine of y minus sine of x times sine of y. All right, so the first step is we have this shape here. And it's going to have, this side is going to be a measure of 1, and all the other sides we don't know. All right, so the first thing that we want to actually do is write down cosine of x plus y. All right, and over here we have angles x and we have angles y. Okay, so if we just focus on the triangle I'm going to shade in blue, all right, this triangle right here, what side would be cosine of x plus y? Well, so this has an angle of 1, right? And cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, right? In this case, the adjacent is line segment AF, and the hypotenuse is 1. So we can say cosine of x plus y is equal to line segment AF, and we don't need to include the 1 because that just cancels out, right? So then the next thing that we want to do is we want to break AF into some different parts. Well, what can we break it down into? We can break it down into line segment AB minus FB, right? Because if we have this whole thing and we subtract this bit, then we're just left with that original bit. So we can then say this is equal to line segment AB minus line segment FB. All right, so then one more time to make it even easier for us to do this, we're going to change this to line segment AB, all right, minus, well, can you think of any line segments that would be equal to this line segment right here? EC is equal, because this is a rectangle here, right? So that means this is equal to this, and this side is equal to this side. So we can then change this out to, instead of FB, we can change it to EC. And we'll see why we did that in a second. Right? So then we want to start labeling things on this triangle. We want to label as much as we can because it'll help us out. So let's take angle X for a second and just focus on the triangle that I'm going to shade in green here. All right, we're just focusing in on that triangle. Now, what would be sine of x? What line segment? Well, sine is opposite, right? And what is opposite of the x? DC, line segment DC. And it's over 1, so the 1 cancels out, and that just leaves us to line segment DC is equal to sine of x. So let's write that down. Sine of x. All right, then let's find cosine of x. Well, cosine is adjacent once again, and adjacent is line segment AC, and the 1 cancels out. So AC is equal to cosine of x. Then let's try, let me get pink out this time, and let's focus in on this triangle here. And let's see if we can actually label anything. Okay, so let's find sine of y. Actually, no, we don't need to find sine of y. Let's find cosine of y first. Because remember, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find AB. Cosine of y in this case is the adjacent angle to y, right? And the adjacent side to y. And that is AB. So we want to take cosine of y. Right, so cosine of y equals line segment A, B, because that's adjacent, over hypotenuse. In this case, our hypotenuse is cosine of x. So we can say this is cosine of x. So that means we can say line segment AB, all right? So we can multiply both sides by cosine of x, and that equals cosine of y times cosine of x, right? So we've already figured out one of the two of these. Then we want to focus on EC. Well, how can we actually find what that is? Well, just through geometry, right? Hopefully you remember this through your geometry class. This angle over here, right? This is a right angle. I forgot to specify that. This bit of the angle is equal to y, right? And sorry, this is also a right angle. This angle right here, that means this angle is equal to 90 minus y. And then this angle up here must also be equal to y. So then we're trying to figure out angle or side EC. So in this case, we want to take the sine because sine is opposite. In this case, our EC is opposite to angle y. So we take the opposite and we get sine of y equals EC, right? Because that's the opposite, sorry, over hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is x, sine of x. So then we can say EC, line segment EC equals sine of y times sine of x. All right, so now we've figured out both of them. So we can take AB and we can substitute in AB cosine of y times cosine of x. So this is equal to cosine of y times cosine of x. And then minus EC, we can substitute this in, sine of y times sine of x, sine y times sine x. Sorry if that's a little small. So we've derived that formula. Hopefully you found this helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.